Just a quick household note. I was not able to upload on Sunday as I have been suffering from some adverse COVID reactions, which I contracted probably quite recently. I think the worst is behind me now, as I have been locked inside my house, sleeping most of the time. Anyway, a lot has happened last week. International attacks, state of emergency, and even an alleged attempted coup developing as we speak. In this Flashpoint, we take a look at the UAE, Tunisia, Guatemala, Syria, Yemen, and Burkina Faso. On Monday, a new escalation in the Yemeni conflict as an alleged Houthi attack was launched on the capital of the UAE, Abu Dhabi. A reported drone strike caused the death of 2 Indian and 1 Pakistani national, caused by 3 fuel tanker trucks that exploded in the Musafa area near oil storage facilities of the oil firm ADNOC. Another fire broke out at a construction site at Abu Dhabi International Airport. The Emirati Foreign Minister Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan denounced the missile and drone assault as a heinous criminal escalation. Quote, "We condemn the Houthi terrorist militia's targeting of civilian areas and facilities on UAE soil today. This sinful targeting will not go unpunished." Now, I have not verified this information, but it is said that since the start of the war, over 1,000 of similar attacks have occurred on Saudi Arabia, however, the latest one being the first of its kind. On Tuesday, Tunisian President Sayed extended the state of emergency for another month. According to a presidential decree published in the Tunisian official newspaper, the country's state of emergency, which has been implemented since 2015 and was supposed to end on January 20th, has been extended until February 18th of 2022. After the bomb attack targeting the Presidential Guard Regiment in the capital of Tunisia on November 24, 2015, numerous one-month extensions of the state of emergency were declared in the country. The application provides the Ministry of Interior and security units with extraordinary powers such as prohibition of meetings, curfews, search warrants without court permissions, and monitoring the press. Tunisian right groups have warned that freedoms may be at risk following the crackdown on protests recently. Rights groups say freedoms face an imminent peril after the police used water cannons and tear gas at a demonstration against President Said previous week. These human rights groups have warned that freedoms in the country are at risk following a police crackdown on a protest against President Said's seizure of governing powers. Yassine Jelassi, the head of the Tunisian National Journalists Union, told reporters on Tuesday that citizens' freedoms were in imminent peril after police fired tear gas and used water cannons on Friday to disperse hundreds who gathered in Tunis to rally against Said on the 11th anniversary of the Arab Spring Revolution. Quote, "A police and security mentality is running the state. Tunisia has become a country which suppresses freedoms," Jelassi said at the event that was organized in conjunction with 21 human rights groups. He said the attempt by the police to disperse protesters was, quote, "a political decision that proves that the state still uses the security apparatus to solve its political crises." Guatemala, on Wednesday, extended by a month a state of siege in 2 indigenous communities locked in a century-old land dispute that boiled over last month into a massacre of 13 people. The state of siege, imposed a month ago, restricts certain constitutional rights such as the bearing of arms and right to protest. The government said the lingering causes that provoked the state of siege and, quote, "the presence of armed groups," end quote, meant an extension was needed, according to a decree published in the official gazette Diario de Centroamérica. It said the extension in the neighboring western municipalities of Nahuala and Santa Catarina Itahuacan was necessary to maintain constitutional order, the security of the state, and to recover the governability of the territory. The state of siege must still be ratified by Congress, which is controlled by the governing party and its allies. Last month, armed men with high-caliber weapons ambushed a group of people from Santa Catarina Itahuacan who went to the village of Chiqui in Nahuala to pick allegedly corn, killing 13 people, including 3 children and a police officer. The bodies of the 3 children, aged between 5 and 14, were chopped up into pieces, and the victims were burned inside the truck that they were traveling in. 3 people have been detained over the massacre. Both warring communities are members of the Maya Quiche tribe and have been fighting over land, at times violently, for more than 100 years. On Thursday, 6 people were killed, including 2 children, in an attack on the Turkish-held city of Afrin in northern Syria, the latest in a spate of attacks, according to a war monitor. It was not immediately clear who fired the artillery shells, but the attack came from a region where Kurdish fighters and Syrian regime forces are present. Quote, 6 people, including 2 children, were killed, end quote, said the UK-based monitor, which relies on sources inside Syria for its reports. Nearly 30 others are said to have been wounded. The shelling came a week after a suicide bomber launched an attack near a military base run by Turkey and Turkey-backed fighters in Afrin, according to the observatory. Turkey and its proxies have seized control of territory inside Syria in a number of military operations launched since 2016 against Daesh and the Kurdish YPG militia. In March of 2018, they seized Afrin after pushing the Syrian Kurd forces out. On Thursday, Kurdish forces marked 4 years since Turkey launched its push into Afrin in an operation that triggered a wave of mass displacement. Recovering Afrin and securing the safe return of its inhabitants is our main priority. Mazloum Abdi, the head of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Nearly 500,000 people have been killed in the war in Syria, which has spurred the largest conflict-induced displacement since the Second World War, since it broke out in 2011. On Friday, the 21st, aid agencies operating in Yemen were horrified by the news that more than 70 people, including migrants, women and children, have been killed in Hodeidah and Sada Friday morning, in a blatant disregard for civilian lives. In Sada, a holding facility for migrants was attacked overnight, among other, killing 67 people and injuring 108, according to initial reports. Initial hospital reports suggest more than 100 people, mostly migrants, were also injured, and the true numbers might be higher as aid workers and paramedics clear the rubble and verify the information. In Hodeidah, 3 children were killed while playing in a football field, and at least 5 adults were injured. Airstrikes have also damaged the telecommunications center, downing internet connections across the country and disrupting phone lines in several governorates. The escalation comes after the Human Rights Council voted to end the mandate of the group of eminent experts, the only international and independent body tasked with investigating the examination of all alleged violations and abuses of international human rights and other appropriate and applicable fields of international law committed by all parties to the conflict. These airstrikes come after 3 medical facilities and 1 water reservoir were attacked this week alone. Now on Sunday, yesterday, entering the new week, news stations globally turned their attention to Burkina Faso, the country of honest men in local language, as an alleged coup was underway. In a tweet, the president asked people who took up arms to lay them down. Quote, "Our nation is going through difficult times. At this precise moment, we must safeguard our democratic achievements. I invite those who have taken up arms to lay them down in the higher interests of the nation. It is through dialogue and listening that we must resolve our contradictions. Burkina Faso's neighbors have condemned what they call an attempted coup in the West African state. President Roch Kabore and his whereabouts are unclear amid conflicting reports on whether he has been detained by dissident forces. Gunfire was heard overnight near the presidential palace and at barracks in the capital, Ouagadougou. The mutinying troops have demanded the sacking of military chiefs and more resources to fight Islamist militants. President Kabore has not been seen in public since the crisis began in the early hours of Sunday. In a statement, ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, said it holds the military responsible for the physical well-being of the president. Quote, ECOWAS is following with great concern the evolution of the political and security situation in Burkina Faso, characterized since Sunday 23rd of January by an attempted coup d'etat. ECOWAS condemns this extremely grave act, the statement added. Armored vehicles, reportedly used by the presidency, were seen peppered with bullet holes and abandoned in the street. Mobile internet services have been disrupted, though fixed-line internet and domestic Wi-Fi are working. Soldiers have also surrounded the state television headquarters, and there was no live programming on Monday. In an eventful week, what can I say? I can only be curious what will happen next week. This has been your Global Security Flashpoint. See you all next week.